This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the channel. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm wishing for everyone a blessed Sunday. And in the news for this morning, for November 27, 2022, how an American fugitive of 11 years made Norwood home. For more than a decade, he lived among them, earned their trust, and did odd jobs on their properties. Now residents in the middle-class community of Dunbar Pen in Norwood, St. James, are reeling from the fact that the American man they all knew as Charlie was an accused child molester fleeing from the long arm of the law. Charles Menard Rainey had been living at an apartment building located at 4 Hamilton Drive in Montego Bay since 2011, when he fled to Jamaica from his hometown in Paulding County in the northwestern part of the U.S. state of Georgia. Rainey was facing charges of aggravated child molestation, and a sexual battery filed against him in the summer of 2010 after allegedly assaulting a girl younger than 16. He was indicted on all 3 felonies in July 2011, but failed to show up for court, and a bench warrant was issued for his arrest. By 2012, the case was dead docketed because Rainey could not be found. Neighbors awoke days ago to find their yard swarming with the police as he was located in St. James. They took away Charlie, but he has been such a good guy. We just believed it was a misunderstanding, a senior citizen who asked not to be identified told the news last week. He was just like the utility man around here. He was good at sharpening saws, but did every little thing from cutting grass, feeding your dog, or patching the pavement. Several homeowners living overseas also left Rainey in charge of the maintenance of their properties. He also owned a herd of goats that he took to pasture each day. Tenants at the apartment where Rainey lived told the news the name of the landlord, who they say lives along Leaders Avenue in Montego Bay, but refused to comment on the Americans' time with them. However, other residents of the area admitted that when Rainey first came into the community, they thought he was the owner of the apartment building that has been his home over the years, but doubts grew as he began moving around doing odd jobs. It was strange to see a white man with a weed whacker cutting a black man's yard, but I just thought he just loved the Jamaican lifestyle, so after a while you just get used to him, said Valerie. He gets along with everybody. Residents say Rainey assimilated the Jamaican culture very quickly and was not intrusive, only speaking when he was spoken to. He rarely left the community, mostly taking short trips to the Montego Bay town center, about 3 kilometers away, to replenish food items. He traveled with me some of the time, got what he wanted, and went back to his own business, so you won't see him at a church or a bar. Just from home to the hostel and home again, said a taxi operator who requested anonymity as she spoke with the news team. The Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch has received plaudits both locally and internationally for the successful capture of the 71-year-old Rainey in an operation. Assistant Commissioner of Police Anthony McLaughlin, who heads the Seatock branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, said that during his time in Jamaica, no local report was received of Rainey committing any acts similar to those of which he is accused in the United States. The investigation is done by our U.S. counterpart, who sends the warrant through the office of the DPP for persons to be picked up, McLaughlin explained. The U.S. Marshals Service worked with us in preparing the documentation for extradition. Rainey, who was captured without incident on November 15, was deported on November 18 after acknowledging his identity and admitting that he had overstayed in the island during an interview with the police. Neither Sheriff Gary Golledge nor the investigator assigned to the case was available when the news contacted the Paulding County Sheriff's Office in Georgia on Friday. It's a holiday here, so it's not possible until Monday, the receptionist said. Rainey's capture and the subsequent extradition are being celebrated as a timely Thanksgiving gift for the approximately 173,780 residents in the Georgian county, and the police are hoping that if there are other victims, they will come forward. Great job, Paulding County, and all those who assisted, said Cecilia McMitchen on the police department's Facebook page. Don't think Mr. Rainey is going to get a welcome home party. This is what happens with good relationships between agencies and the nations. Great job, PCSO, Jamie Harris added. Excellent work, and a thank you to the security forces from the government of Jamaica, Jamaica Constabulary Force, the U.S. Marshals Service, and the Paulding County Sheriff's Office, wrote Jennifer Carey. Rachel Chevon, another Paulding resident, says she was employed by Rennie when he operated the drag strip, but he was always kind to her and never acted inappropriately. Reputed gangsters get life for kidnapping and murder of businessman and driver. An alleged member of the Bubba gang who kidnapped and murdered a businessman as well as his deliveryman in Westmoreland more than a decade ago was on Friday sentenced to 25 years in prison. 32-year-old Dwayne Drummond, who also got 2 life sentences for the murders, is said to have killed the businessman after his father requested to speak with him before paying over a $200,000 ransom. Drummond's crony Jermaine James was also sentenced to life in prison for the deliveryman's murder and is to serve 15 years in prison before parole consideration. Businessman Rohan Jones, 22, and his co-worker, Cayman Monroe, were murdered on May 9, 2011 in the violent community of Russia after being targeted. Justice Leighton Pusey, in handing down the life sentences on Friday in the Home Circuit Court, ordered Drummond to serve 20 years in prison before becoming eligible for parole in relation to Jones's murder and 15 years before being considered for parole for Monroe's murder. Drummond, who is from Pitford in St. James, was also slapped with a 2-year sentence for extortion, 15 years for kidnapping, and 25 years for illegal possession of firearm. In addition to life imprisonment, James, otherwise called the Bounty of Port Antonio in Portland, was also sentenced to 2 years for extortion and 15 years for kidnapping. The sentences for both men are to run concurrently. Both were found guilty of the charges following a jury trial in August. Prosecutors Kathy Pike and Dianika Taylor Campbell led evidence that Jones, who operated a cooking gas company with his father, was fulfilling an order in the Russia community with his deliveryman when they were held up by James and Drummond, who demanded money. The killers, who pretended to be customers, had a blue gas cylinder when they held up the victims with a gun. Monroe tried to escape by driving away the car, but was shot in the chest. The vehicle crashed into a nearby wall and he later succumbed to his injuries. Jones was, however, kidnapped by the men, who phoned his relatives and demanded $200,000 for his safe return. On May 10, 2011, about 10:30 a.m., the men called the businessman's father, and he indicated that arrangements would be made to pay the money if he was allowed to speak to his son. The kidnappers, however, refused and told him to pick up his son's body. A manhunt was launched, and 2 days later, Jones's decomposing body was found in bushes adjacent to Russia with the head bashed in and the hands bound behind his back and a cloth tied around the neck. The men were subsequently charged, but they maintained their innocence. Before handing down the sentence, Justice Pusey highlighted that he was constrained in terms of offering any reduction to the sentences to Drummond, who had spent 11 years in custody, and James, who had spent 7 years before being granted bail. In James's case, the judge noted that he would have reduced his sentence as he had no previous conviction, had a good community report, and appeared to have conducted himself well while he was on bail. He also noted that James was not the principal offender, even though he was involved in this murder, and despite the fact that this was a serious crime, I only saw mitigating factors, the judge added. He further pointed out that he had considered giving him a prison term instead of a life sentence, but had to impose a life term based on the law. In Drummond's case, he said he would have at least credited him for the years spent in custody, but the statute did not allow for that. However, in arriving at his sentence, the judge said he took note of the fact that Drummond was convicted of a double murder, that the victim was killed after he was kidnapped, and the ransom wasn't forthcoming, and further, that his death appeared to be because of greed. To Drummond's credit, Justice Pusey said he took into account that he also had no previous conviction. Last week, during the sentencing hearing, James's lawyer Clive Mullings begged for a second chance. Give him a second chance to prove that he is capable of becoming a productive citizen, he submitted. Mullins, while urging the judge not to impose the maximum sentence, asked the judge to consider that James had no previous conviction and that this antecedent had nothing to suggest that he was involved in criminal or any antisocial behavior. Drummond's lawyer Chanel Johnson appealed for leniency. She asked the judge to exercise discretion and to give her client the minimum pre-parole period of 20 years. Attorney-at-law Mark Harrison has died. Attorney-at-law Mark Harrison, who was the founding partner in the law firm Harrison & Harrison, has died. He died in Florida, where he was undergoing treatment for cancer. King's counsel Simone Mayhew, who is a litigation consultant for the firm, described Harrison as one of the best commercial lawyers. A very lovely person, a good friend, we will all miss him. Gone too soon, Mayhew said today. Harrison was admitted to practice law in Jamaica in 1996. He worked in the commercial division at the Attorney General's Department and was subsequently appointed Assistant Attorney General. He was responsible for drafting and reviewing contracts to which the government of Jamaica was a party. He also represented the government in international capital market bond issues and domestic and international commercial litigation matters. Harrison also worked at Jamaica Money Market Brokers Limited before opening his own law firm in 2007 with his sister Monique Harrison Beckford. Harrison is survived by his wife Lisa, their 2 children, his parents, retired Court of Appeal Judge Carl Harrison, and his wife Enid, as well as his sister and other relatives. Popular St. James taxi operator reported missing. 44-year-old Charles Johnson, a taxi operator of Leith Anchovy in St. James, has been missing since Sunday, November 20. He is of dark complexion, slim build, and about 170 centimeters or 5 feet 7 inches tall. Reports from the Anchovy police are that at about 10:40 a.m., Johnson was last seen leaving home wearing a yellow and red shirt, brown pants, and Crocs with white socks. He has not been heard from since. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Charles Johnson is being asked to contact the Anchovy police at 876-956-4100, the police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station. 4 children were mowed down by a delivery truck Friday afternoon along Eastwood Park Road in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew. There are unconfirmed reports that one of the children died as a result of the accident. The Corporate Communication Unit, the information arm of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, confirmed the incident but could not give any updates on the medical condition of the children. The children were transported straight to hospital. We have no updates on their condition yet, a CCU representative told the news. Reports are that a delivery truck slammed into the 4 children who attend a primary school in the area. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.